In today's video, I'm going to be testing out the Ava Go P55 pressure washer in the context of car detailing. This video was not sponsored by Ava, but they did send it for me to test out. So I'm going to be running you through the setup, performance and the pros and cons that I've discovered in my opinion after using it. And as always, there will be a link in the description to the pressure washer and the accessories that I'm using. So I'll first start off with what it actually comes with. So this is the large bundle, and at the time of making this video it is the only bundle available with this particular model. So with that you get the 0.4 gum, which is a stubby gum. You also get a zoom lance if you want to have a bit more reach. This does have a telescopic function as well, so you can adjust the length of it. So this really should help to reduce any backache when pressure washing patio flags, for example. You also get the Vario nozzle tip, which has a fan spray pattern, and you can twist that so it's either 20 degrees or 60 degrees. It also comes with a turbo nozzle tip, which isn't designed for use on cars, as it is really aggressive, but it's for use on patio flags. One thing to note is this only goes into the zoom lance. It doesn't go directly into the stubby gum, and that's due to regulations that the company had to conform to. The kit also comes with the Ava premium foam cannon, and this comes with a 0.6 litre capacity and graduations on the side for the dilution ratios. Both the nozzles and the foam cannon have a bayonet fitting, so you just twist them into the gun or the zoom lance. And then there is a collar that you can twist to lock it into place, but it's not strictly necessary. And finally, it comes with an 8 metre steel reinforced hose, which is really nice and light and flexible, so I've had no issues with this kinking up. The mains cable is 5 metres, and another point that I do really like about the overall machine is that it is really light and compact, so it only weighs in at 7.3 kilos and easily fits in my cabinet. In terms of the setup and first use of it, there's very little to do. It does come with a little filter that just needs screwing on, so you can attach the garden hose to it. And then there's a couple of bits to do with the zoom lance. So first you just install the intermediate adapter that comes in it, and you can line that up in place. Then you pop the pin in, which does actually come attached to this zoom lance, so don't throw it away when you are unboxing it. It isn't the easiest to push that pin fully into place, so I did just give it a tap with a hammer. And then once that pin's in place, you can just press that green button on it, and then the telescopic bit will pull out. One thing to note here though is that this lance is pretty heavy due to it having that telescopic function, so it's not really something you can comfortably hold up with one hand. So once I got those couple of bits set up, I connect my water to the pressure washer, then I just click the high pressure hose into the gun and the pressure washer. Both ends are exactly the same and they just slot in quite easily. Next, I turn on the water from the mains, and then before plugging it in and switching it on, I do just pull the trigger on the gun to bleed any air out of the system. So if you do notice any, just make sure it stops spluttering before you turn the power on. Once this is done, I do switch on the machine, and I do like to keep the trigger pulled when I do this, just to take any strain out of the system. So in terms of the performance of this particular pressure washer, this is a P55 model, so it has a max pressure of 140 bar and a max flow of 450 litres per hour, which is 7.5 per minute. In terms of the context for that puts it somewhere between the Karcher K4 and K5 series, and definitely has plenty of power to clean a car. The flow rate is really good, particularly for the price point, but it's not outstanding. There are pressure washers that will have a better flow, and these do tend to help particularly for patio cleaning, but also for pre-washing the car as well. So in terms of the specifications of a pressure washer, I generally tend to look at the flow rate more than the max pressure, as I find that has the biggest influence on performance for me. In this Go series, there is a less powerful model, the P40, which does have a lower flow rate and max pressure. Although that model is cheaper, I don't think the specs of it are as good, particularly for car cleaning and for patio cleaning as well. So this pressure washer does come with a 10-year warranty, but this is for domestic use. It's not designed to be used for professional use, and that will void the warranty. So just something to keep in mind if you are considering it as a valeter or detailer and you're going to be using it on a daily basis. I will pop a link in the description to some more information on the warranty and the kinds of things included. One thing to note though is you do have to purchase the service pack, which isn't very expensive. Again, I'll link that in the description, at approximately the 5-year mark and complete this. And at that point it will extend the warranty by a further 5 years. Alternatively, you can send it off to be serviced at this point, but obviously you'll be without the machine if you do that. I've not had any issues at all with this machine since I got it, but if I do ever have to use the warranty, then I will pop a pinned comment on this video and explain my experience with it. One thing to note with this machine is it is actually fairly loud. Don't be fooled into thinking it's a really quiet machine just because it's quite small and compact. The rating on the side actually says 95 decibels. So I'll do a little sound test here, and I will compare it on screen to my old Karcher K4 model and my current Kranzel K10, so you can hear the kind of differences between them. Now I wanted to take a little bit of a deep dive into the accessories of this particular pressure washer and talk about some of the pros and cons that I've noticed of them. So first of all, I think that the fact it comes with a stubby gun as standard is perfect for car cleaning. These short triggers make it a lot easier to clean things like the wheel arches, and also make it easier when snow foaming as well, as you don't have a really long glance, which ends up being really heavy with a snow foam cannon at the end of it. You can just use this with one hand. This is the 0 stubby gun, so it does have kind of an easy pull trigger. So once it's pulled, if you keep just one finger on the black part, it will stay in place with barely any effort at all, so it does help to reduce fatigue. It also does have a built-in swivel, so it stops the hose coiling up, and I think having this stubby gun is a definite improvement over my old Karcher K4, which I really did think needed replacing with an aftermarket one in order to make it easier to use for car cleaning. One thing that I will note with this stubby gun though is that the bayonet system isn't as quick as a 1/4 inch quick release system, just because you have to pay more attention to the orientation that you put the nozzle in. This is the case as well with a foam cannon, in that if you don't position it in the right orientation, you will end up putting it upside down on the gun, so it's just something that takes a little bit of getting used to. One thing that I wasn't a huge fan of as well is that the bayonet system always means that the nozzle is always orientated perpendicular to the gun, so this isn't too bad when you're rinsing down, say, the bonnet or the roof, but if you are rinsing down the doors, for example, then it does encourage you to move the gun up and down rather than left to right, which I would prefer. If you want to do that, then you obviously have to turn your hand, but it does feel kind of awkward. They do have an adapter on the website, again, that'll link in the description, that'll allow you to orientate the nozzle into different positions. However, I'm not a huge fan of using adapters if I don't have to, and also that does add some length to the stubby gun, which is already longer than something like my MTM SGS 35 with a nozzle attached, so I wouldn't really want to extend that any further. If you do want to use an aftermarket gun like this MTM, then you can do so, and I'm going to link in the description the adapter that I use to be able to do it. This is actually a Nilfisk adapter that I purchased from Amazon. I'm not sure if all the Nilfisk adapters work out there, but this one did work for me. Now onto the hose, which I do think is very, very good quality. It is a steel reinforced hose, so it's nice and robust, and it won't kink up like my old Karcher hose used to do. Despite feeling really good quality as well, it isn't very heavy, and it does lie flat on the ground too. My only issue with the hose is that it is only 8 metres, which in my opinion is a little bit too short. When I'm cleaning a car, about 10 metres I find is the minimum, and I have been a bit spoilt by using a 20 metre hose for the past couple of years, which does make it miles easier to be able to get around the entire car and position the pressure washer a little bit further away. Now there is the option to go ahead and purchase an aftermarket hose, but that obviously does kind of defeat the object of the hose being so great to begin with. So I do wish when you could purchase this that there would be an option to choose one of those larger hoses available. I do understand though why they've not done this with this machine, and that's because otherwise it wouldn't fit into the space between the handle to allow it to be stored easily. So I do understand, but I do think it's a little bit of a drawback. The final accessory that I want to talk about in a little bit more detail is the foam lance. I think the fact that it comes with a foam lance as standard is a massive advantage, as not many pressure washers do come with one. The foam lance itself is really good quality too. It feels nice and solid. There's adjustability on the side of the head to be able to control how much foam's being pulled up, and you can adjust the width of the spray pattern, which does have a nice satisfying click to it, so you don't accidentally start changing it if you pick up the foam cannon by the nozzle. The only thing that it doesn't have is the ability to spray the foam in a horizontal spray pattern, it's just a vertical one. This for me though isn't a big deal, as I pretty much always stick to that vertical one, even with my other foam cannons that have that feature. The only thing that I wish though is that this foam cannon had a 1 litre capacity instead of the 0.6 litre capacity that it comes with. You can purchase the premium foam cannon kit on their website, which features the exact same head unit but a bigger bottle, and I can tell that the head unit that it actually comes with here is more designed for that 1 litre bottle, as the straw is too long for the 0.6 litre, so when you put the head unit on the bottle you do have to twist it and make sure you orientate it in a certain way so it goes to the bottom of the foam cannon. Otherwise you end up halfway through cleaning the car and realise that the pickup pipe is pointing up the side of the bottle and no longer submerged underneath the foam, so we'll start spluttering water out. So obviously you can cut that down, or you can get a 1 litre beaker replacement, which is available on the Ava website, and it is actually only £5. However, it is currently out of stock and I have struggled to find that anywhere else. Now when it comes to backing away, there are a couple of things I want to mention and a couple of features on this machine too. So I start by switching the power off on the machine and disconnecting the water. Then I'll just pull the trigger to release the pressure and disconnect the hose from both the gun and the machine itself. I then do turn the pump on for just a second or two to splutter out any residual water that might be remaining. Pressure washers are always prone to frost damage, so make sure you do keep this machine inside in winter, otherwise you could end up having problems if any water freezes inside it. This model does have some really handy onboard storage for all the accessories except for the foam cannon. So the nozzles and the gun just slot into little compartments on the side, and there is a spare one in case you do want to get any extra nozzles. The zoom lens just slots on top, and it can slide out of place if you're going to hold the machine at an angle, but it's unlikely to happen as it is fairly wide, and you end up gripping it when you're picking it up anyway. The only way you'd really manage to knock it off is if you had anything underneath it. The hose goes in the middle just underneath the handle and slots in without taking up too much room. It doesn't have an integrated hose reel, this machine, so you do have to wind that hose back up. If that's something you are interested in, then there are other models on the website that do have these features. The mains cable also has a little slot that you can pop it in on the side, so no wind-up mechanism, but it does still have a place. Again, if you are looking for more cable management, then some of the more expensive models do have these features. Now, one thing that I did want to address towards the end of this video was some comparisons to other machines that I've tried in the past. So the two pressure washers that I've used the most are the Kronzel K10 and the Karcher K4, both of which I've used for a couple of years. So I'll start off with the Kronzel, which is the one that I've been using most recently, and I imagine that people in the comments might ask me about this. In my opinion, these machines don't really compete with one another. The price point of them is very different. At the time of making this video, this one is $260 on the Ava website, whereas the Kronzel package that I got is just over £800. The Kronzel is designed for professional use and is capable of being used every day. You've of course got to look after it and service it, but it is really meant to withstand that. This Ava Go P55 on the other hand is a domestic pressure washer. So it's really for all the people that saw my Kronzel review and said there's absolutely no way I'm spending that much on a pressure washer. This is obviously going to be a much more suitable option. If on the other hand though you are a professional detailer or valeter and going to be using this machine every day, then my recommendation would be to go with the Kronzel. I think a fairer comparison to this particular machine would be something like the Karcher K4. In terms of the specs on paper, this Ava is slightly better in terms of both flow and max pressure, sitting somewhere between the K4 and K5 models. It is a bit more expensive, but the main things you get in here are the better accessories out of the box and that longer warranty. I think it's potentially still worth considering the Karcher K4 if you do get one on the outlet, because you can get quite hefty discounts on it, which you can't really with refurbished models of this one. I would consider it if you don't want to use any of the accessories that come with the Ava, if you're going to get a longer hose, an aftermarket stubby gun and foam cannon. If you get decent aftermarket options of all three of those accessories with a refurbed Karcher K4, then that's going to bring you to a similar price to this model. However, of course, you are going to get a significantly shorter warranty with that, so it is really worth weighing up how much you're going to use the accessories and how important that warranty is to you. I think out of the box, just comparing the two pressure washers and the accessories that they come with, I do feel like, at least with the experience I've had with it so far, this Ava model is personally the one that I would go for. My overall kind of conclusion for this Ava pressure washer is that I do think it is a really good option, particularly when you consider the price and everything that comes with it. Obviously, I have done some nitpicking and have the criticisms that I've mentioned, but all things considered, I do think this is seriously worth considering if you're after a pressure washer in this price range. So what I am going to do is pop a link in the description to this pressure washer and everything else that I've mentioned in this video. If you have enjoyed it and found it helpful, then it would be brilliant if you could drop it a like, and thanks very much for watching.